Welcome back to another video. Today we are looking at the fight footage, the mock fight footage, and you're probably wondering why the footage itself is pretty scuffed, but long story short, we ended up losing all fights after fight 2. The Wi-Fi of the house went down, which on its own would not have been an issue. However, when that happens and you have the Twitch app open because we were streaming, it should give me a blue screen of death, but the Twitch app itself also messed up. It didn't show the blue screen. In fact, it just showed that it was recording. It had the live icon in the corner, the little red light. It looked good to go, and so I kept checking between all the rounds and between all the fights and didn't show any issues. So long story short, that got scuffed, but we did pull this, so we will lose the commentary. I'll be doing voiceovers for a lot of this stuff because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. So we'll make it work. Going ahead in the future, I will have my good phone doing the streaming. I'll have my second phone recording just for redundancy, and then I'll have a laptop watching the stream, making sure everything's going good, and I'll have somebody keep an eye on all that. So in the future, won't happen again. We'll figure it out. But as far as the fights themselves, the show was so good, and the fights were so good, and the matchups were so good, and everything was so good. People have improved so much that I couldn't not have the footage. My phone's been going off ever since that Friday for people to try to get there. So we do have the good footage of this fight. I'm going to let that come through right now for the first round. And then in round 2 and round 3, I will use... I'll keep doing the voiceover like we talked about. But so these two don't really know each other. Jarod in the shirt with the mid-length hair, he's been training with me for a while, but his schedule changed, so now he's kind of rolling in on the Fridays, trying to keep it going. But originally we were training like about 4 times a day, excuse me, 4 times a week. He has a lacrosse background, but he never really had any fighting. And so he's developed a ton, and we're going to see this in the fight. Zach, on the other hand, he's more of a grappler. He's been a little bit on and off. I think he's probably making it about once a month. And I talked about what we're doing with the mock fights. He was asking me what was new. And I said, hey, this coming Friday, man, if you want to get in there, I'll let you in there. But I know he's kind of been getting a little bit of rusty. He did a tournament. He had a little bit of time off after that. So I told him, come to the open mat, do some jiu-jitsu, just do some rolling if you're feeling good. Huge sweep over there by Jarod, stepping through, looking good. But I said, if you do the open mat and you feel good, come out, because he has kind of come in. He's done a little bit. We do see him Jarod catching the kick. We do see a trip right there. We're going to see that coming up in the future. Jarod got really good at defending kick because I was throwing a ton at him. But like I said, Jarod's been fighting less. He's been doing more bodybuilding. He's put on a lot of muscle. You know, we're going to see what that is going to play in this fight. But Zach, like I said, more jiu-jitsu. He's only coming a couple times, only done a little bit of hands. You're going to see that. But first round, this is a lot different from sparring. These guys, I've seen Jarod spar like 20 rounds or so. No big deal. Big sweep, big catch, big sweep right there. Before this match, I believe I heard somebody tell Jarod that you don't want to go to the ground with him at all. And I actually feel like Jarod's ground game would be enough in an MMA situation to be safe. You know, he'll probably end up in guard on a takedown. I don't think he's going to get an armbar snatched or anything, but it is possible. And you're thinking about that a lot more when you are in a fight. You know, if we're just rolling, I'm not thinking about it too much. If it's a fight and the lights are on and people are watching, you know, I'm more worried about that armbar. I'm thinking about it more. So they press it to the cage to try to get a little bit of a better angle. I'm kind of late on it. But now you start to see the fatigue. Jarod's not moving as fast. He's kind of throwing that overhead, leaving his head out there. That's a mistake that I make. And so if you ever coach, people will pick up your techniques, but they'll also pick up your errors. And so you need to be conscious of that. But here we go. So, looking good for Jarod, catching the kicks, putting him down. He just has to consider, you know, this isn't just sparring. It's 3 rounds straight. 3-minute rounds is what it's scheduled for. You know, can you keep that pace up? You know, the leg sweeps are big. And a good outside leg kick there. We see Zach starting to paw away at him. Not super experienced with the hands, but he's getting a lot of work done there. He's kind of pawing at him. A little bit of rabbit strikes. I'm trying to get that out of, if I spent more time with Zach, I try to get the rabbit strikes out. But he's being controlled. He's not throwing too hard. If you haven't heard me say it before, these fights are light to the head. It's mock sparring, you know, or excuse me, mock fights. And so that was the blue screen of death that I should have gotten, and that would have popped on the screen, but it didn't. So now we're going to switch over to the over to the security footage. We're zoomed in a little bit. It's a little bit grainy, but honestly, it is good enough to be able to see the fights and get the footage up there. And again, we're going to do all that redundancy to let it go. I told him to pull the shirt off there. Something I didn't do the first time we did the mock fights that I thought about second, because every time we do another show, I think about how to. There we go, Manny, our ring girl of the day. Round 2 coming up. I think of different ways. How can I make it more similar to a fight? How can I give people more of the experience? Some of these guys may very well go on to take fights. Some of these guys just want to taste and just kind of a little bit of seeing how it feels. And it could be something simple, pulling your shirt off. Some people won't think twice about it. Some people makes them kind of out of their comfort zone, whatever. We want to mimic everything as close to the fight. We just want to, limit injury, limit head trauma, etc. Also, the ice hits better when you're doing it. And I did bring out ice this time. That's something we didn't do last time. So round 2's getting up. They touch gloves. And here we go. So we're watching Jarod. He's a little bit more flat on the feet. You see the way he moves. He's feeling it. He's gained a lot of muscle recently is what it looked like. And so that's going to affect the cardio. He's only coming out once a week, sometimes missing. He's one of the guys that if he misses one of my Fridays, I know it's not for some goofy reason. It's because, it was a big event, a family thing, out of town, a work thing. Oh, Zach goes for the trip, almost gets it. Jarod does have a good base. He goes back up. We're seeing that hair a little bit of a factor is what I'll say. The outside leg kick, Jarod's throwing that right above the knee, looking good. You're trying to fatigue that leg. That way if Zach wants to start shooting in, maybe he is going to fatigue those legs and take those legs out of him. It's a good approach to go against a wrestler. Some of the drills I was doing with Jarod when we trained more would be, we used to call it the Chuck and Randy drill back in the day. I know there's a lot of people in the fight game now that don't even remember Chuck Liddell, unfortunately. But you could also call it the sprawl and brawl drill, where I say, okay, this round I'm the wrestler. I'm going to use my hands and set up takedowns, but my goal is takedowns the entire time. And then you're going to be the striker. So you need to be able to circle and stay effective and do damage. You don't just want to stall, but you need to stay up. And so it looks like he's drawing on some of those drills. But we're moving around a little bit. Zach's getting some hands in there. Zach has a good reach. I was very impressed by what he was able to do with the limited amount of striking training that he's gotten into. And again, he's rusty. He's maybe training once a month. He's changing some things in his schedule. But here we go, back and forth. Jarod's getting tired. He's getting on the wall, getting on the cage. We see some nice controlled knees in there. The hair's again a factor. He's like right at that stage where he might need to just concede and go man bun and just get a girl hair tie or something like that. But it is a factor. It's kind of getting in the eyes, something to think about. When Zach steps in, what's happening is the issue with Zach's stance is he's kind of exposing the side of his leg, and that's why those leg kicks are hitting. Jarod on the fence. He's possibly fatiguing Zach. A lot of control, but he's swarming him with the punches. We're halfway through this fight. Zach's hand's looking good. At the end of the first round, his cornerman told him to stop throwing kicks, and that is paying off. He's not spending a lot of energy. He's getting the hands in there. It's looking pretty good. With a little bit of increased pressure in an amateur fight, it takes less to stop the fight. If you get on the cage and your hands are down and you let somebody tee off on you for a while, there's a lot of refs that step in there, so that's something that we're looking at during these. A little bit of the overhand. Jarod's hands are low. He gets a leg again. He throws that outside kick. We see that again. That's a move that comes up and up often. I prefer to throw more of an inside kick. I think it's a better way to go, and we'll probably talk about that towards the end. But Jarod got 2 big sweeps out of it in the first round. You could possibly argue a 10-8 round just because I think he got 3 or 4 different sweeps on him. However, at the end of the first round, Zach really had a good flurry on the cage, and I think that kept it a 10-9. So I would give this round, or the first round, to Jarod. You could possibly argue for a 10-8 round. The second round, kind of back and forth. You could give this one either way. I wasn't really too concerned about the judging of things with this. I might get more into it in the future. The goal of this is, are people having fun? Are people getting better? Is it entertaining, etc.? But who knows? At the end of the first fight before this, Joe went in there and he kind of did like a crowd, letting the crowds kind of vote and see. One of my original ideas was to have the commentators be the judges, and I just kind of look at them and see who they go. But I don't know. I'm just weighing the importance of how important really is it, win, lose, this, that. I'm not like everybody gets a trophy kind of guy, but whatever. Not too worried about it. All right, round 3's coming up. Ring girl's out of the way. Here we go, round 3. Nice blurry security footage. They touch gloves. The boys are tired. Let's see how that how that plays out. I'm walking off getting distracted. So working the hands has worked real well. It's just the issue is when Zach's stepping in, he's really exposing the outside of his leg, so it's a big opening for leg kicks. He catches the kick again, but he gets his leg. Jarod catches the kick, he loses it right there. We're seeing the hands work out. If Zach works that range a little more, it's going better. I don't like the kicks because they really haven't worked out for Zach, but the hands are looking good. If he just added a couple fakes, a couple feints, again, something that if he kind of worked out and warmed up before this, it would have went real well. Jarod's getting surprised with the fatigue. I mean, like I said, he's sparred almost every Friday. Tons of rounds. Fatigue not really that much of an issue. But, good knees from Zach, overhand by Jarod. Zach kind of lets him go. I would have liked to see him go for something there, maybe a trip or maybe just exit out with a kick. But very impressed by Zach's hands, very impressed by Zach's knees. But back to Jarod. The fatigue is different when everybody's watching you, when people are cheering, when people are coaching you and yelling at you. It feels different. You get the adrenaline dump, and that's exactly why we're doing these mock fights. So for anybody who missed it earlier, we're going light to the head. Everything else is pretty much fair game. You're not really going in there trying to hurt anybody. And if anybody does want to, throw full power, I mean, we can talk to people taking fights. That's on the menu. Zach pawing away, getting some combos in there. Again, in an amateur fight, it doesn't take much to get stoppage. If you throw, 10 unanswered punches to fatigue, there's a lot of guys that would step in there and get it. But the boys are battling back and forth. Late in the third round, we see a leg kick from Jarod. Jarod's trying to stay on his feet. I guarantee his arms are tired. They're breathing. A little overhand right there, looking good. As they close this one out, this has been 3-minute rounds with a 1-minute rest. That's what we're going to see. Towards the end, he catches the kick, and I'm going to show that on replay. But Zach does end up getting a knee tweak right there. So not a dirty technique. Things definitely do happen. We'll jump over to some other footage in a minute. That is the same sweep that Jarod had been throwing the first round. So from the first round, he'd catch the kick, and that was more of a trip, so that's a little bit lower of a contact. Both guys have more energy, so you have more control. The second time he threw it and landed it, he hit above the knee, and so it sweeped it out. So that's what he was going for here. But if we go back on the slow-mo, I don't know if Zach was possibly trying to jump and get a check, or maybe the timing wasn't great, but right above the knee, kind of on the muscle. It's just one of those, the time, the place, etc. Just bad luck right there. Just a little bit of slap. I think you see the knee hyper a little bit right on the ground while the weight is on it. So we get some ice on him. We get him sitting. Definitely unfortunate to see. But he was able at the end of the night to walk out under his own power. I've been texting him, and I do plan on getting him on the podcast and chatting about it. But could have tweaked something. It could be something. It could be nothing. It's too early to tell. One of the things that you want to do in this time is just slap some ice on it. Let them kind of rest up, see how it goes. So that one's going to wrap the fight. I'm definitely going to follow up with him. I'll try to get him on the podcast, and so he can talk through the fight. We can talk through the knee, see what's going on, and then we'll just go from there. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one.